before are showing up here because they know that I do class live stream, and you can sign in there. And let me make sure it's covering. The computer's going to die. That's why I'm trying to. So the check sheet is your go-to. If you do 15 every year, you will graduate with 100. Every semester, you have 120 hours total. If you're like me, you might take 5.5 years for college. That's okay. I had 3 majors, and I graduated. I had like 7 declared, but I graduated with 2. And field is your like senior year. So if you're going to go to field class, I don't know if you guys are doing that this year, next year.
Probably next year.
Are you doing field?
No.
Okay. So here's your check sheet. I don't know if you've like looked at that and made sure you're on pace, but I always do the check for you guys.
Yeah, we looked at it the other day. Remember, you're my advisor.
Okay, good. Right. And I'm sorry, I've had 120 students in the past like 2 days. So right now it is very blurry for me. And then I have a 1 and 2-year-old keep me up all night long.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot.
So that's why they say having kids is a young person's game. And I get it now. I'm like, okay, 42, 43 for my first 2 kids, 44, 45 for my 3rd kid is getting rough.
Well, at least you're financially stable.
True. So that's the one argument. Although they don't pay us a ton here, but you're right. We have like a normal pay. I've been a social worker 20 years. I did buy a house 17 years ago. So, which is funny, is like talking about inflation. Have y'all seen what food prices are doing?
Right.
It's crazy how expensive it is.
The gas.
Yeah, the gas. The stimmy checks were nice, but now we're paying the
Right.
price.
Yeah.
Ooh, oh no. Because in the last 2 years, they've printed 40% of all existing U.S. dollars in cash. There was like $3 trillion floating around, $3 trillion of like paper green money, and apparently there's like upwards of 6 trillion. Hello. So we printed almost 40 to 50% of all the cash and green dollars in existence. So the stimmy check was nice. I don't know if any of y'all got the like stimmy 1,200. Was it like 1,200 a person?
Like 1,500.
Right. Or if you were like, we had 2 kids, so I think they gave us, was it last year? I feel like they gave us 1,200 for each kid that we had.
Everybody downstairs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, it's supposed to be down here. I was like, you know.
Downstairs?
They said, y'all can come back and get us if you up there.
Because
I'm not going back downstairs.
on our thing it says you're going to be at 127.
Oh, did they move me?
I think this ain't 120.
Mine said 123.
Yeah, 123. I mean,
But
So if they kick us out of here, is that a nice room at all?
no,
What is
that's-
it?
we just want this room because it feels good in here.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Is it hot as hell in that room?
We ain't even step
I just
in
came
it.
up here because we was here.
Oh, okay. So should I go
I
downstairs
just
and
saw
get
you
people?
on the live and I'm like, oh, you in the same room.
Oh, okay. Should I go down and get them, you think?
if you have the energy. Because
I
it's,
mean,
It's like common sense. This is what it was.
yeah, like
I
if
know,
we
I
didn't
get
come
Check
back
this room.
I get it, but people will find any excuse.
To- yeah, they was like, 15.
Like, I didn't
There
see
you go.
him, and he's got a doctor. It's okay. Hello. What's going on?
it say 123.
Probably because if we get kicked out of here, that's where we have to go. We're just talking about. What? You can do that too if you're really good at doing all your work and writing all your papers. But I want to make sure you're all on time for graduation if you want to graduate on time. Anybody want to graduate on time? When I was your age, I didn't give a damn. I'm not going to lie. So don't do what I did. But if you do want to graduate on time, here's what you do. Are you all social work majors? Every single person. Okay. We just counted up. It's only 9 social work classes, and then you field. That's it. And then you do all your core. It's 45 to 48. And the rest can be electives. So all B's on this side and all C's on that side will get you a social work degree. Believe it or not. I think you need a 2.0, so that would be a 2.0, wouldn't it? Or a D is a 1.0. So you do need a 2.0 to graduate with a social work degree. And it has to add up. How many hours do you guys remember? It used to be 124 to graduate.
Is it 140 something?
No, we lowered it. So we voted on it last year. We brought it down to that.
Mm.
So if you want to graduate on time, it's basically 5 classes each semester of 3 credit hours, or 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15. We also voted out if you don't want to take a foreign language.
So you don't got to take a foreign language? Good.
It's up to you. If you want to BA, you can. And if you want to BS. Or it might be vice versa, but essentially you don't have to take. I learned Spanish in Nicaragua, so that was my big deal. I screwed up my first and second year of college. That's an apple.
Yeah, why do we do that? I've been trying to turn it off.
That's the noise ever since they came out. You ever seen that commercial?
Mm-mm.
Apple 1984.
No.
It's hilarious. I feel like that's the noise they use. It's so creepy though. You ever watch it? This was in the Super Bowl when I was a baby.
Today we celebrate the first glorious anniversary of
So creepy too.
first time in all history, a garden of pure ideology, where each one might bloom, secure from the pests of 800 years. Is more powerful than any fleet or army on earth. We are one people. We want one responsibility.
She's the social worker, I guess.
We shall prevail.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And seen by 1984 will be like 1984.
You guys ever read that book?
I still ain't finished, but I'm trying to see if it even look like.
So,
Could do it look like I did?
that's cool.
Okay.
So if you want to graduate on time, I was saying, and I joke about myself a lot. I eventually turned it around. Like I had a lot of D's and C's and F's in freshman year, sophomore year, maybe even junior. But then to finish on time, I had to do 18 hours for 6 semesters in a row. And I finished with a double major. But you only need 9 social work classes in your field. You got all your core curriculum, and the rest can be electives to add up to 120 hours. That's it.
That's cool.
So you can turn it around, like, and if you want to finish in 3 years, you can actually do 18 every semester. So 6 classes every semester, and then 2 summer classes. If you're in a hurry, like I was never in a hurry in college. I was like, we got free government loans and stimmy checks and parties, and finally I woke up. So I would just say, I won't tell you guys what to do, but that's some of the first few deals. I won't take too long on our stuff. Any questions about this here check sheet? No question is a dumb question. You need all C's even in the ones that you have to take that don't look like social work B's. I feel like they're harder classes, but people get through them. And if you save your check sheet like this, you put like the semester you took it, grade, and credit hours. So add it all up to 120. You shouldn't do it. Oh yeah, this must be one of the old check sheets. We got rid of that. So we still offer summer classes. Any of you guys take a summer class? Nobody. That's okay. We try to offer them. So they had me fill in for Professor Dr. Hill for this class. Last bell. We call them bells up here. But we get to talk about like making babies and having babies. So this is the first human behavior in the social environment stuff. So hbse. And when does life begin? Like how does life start? And then how do we keep people alive? Like that's kind of the essence, like developmentally, what all do we do to what do we do to keep people alive and serve them as social workers? So it helps. I know we were getting into the genetic stuff, but I'll put that assignment up and do. I always say like 2 or 3 weeks per assignment. So like, you guys want it due in like 14 days or 21 days?
14.
14.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Do this look like?
Yeah. Yeah. Are you using the software?
No.
You're just good on Word, aren't you?
Yeah.
I couldn't figure that out. But it looks, yeah. So you can do it by hand. You can do it like that. They sell you a software. Anybody buy that? I don't know how expensive it is. Huh? For the genogram. Want me to go through the genogram again? I put it up there, I think. But that permanent marker, that would be hilarious. It would be only me who wrote the permanent marker. So we're getting into life history, genetics, your like generations, adoptive family or by the family, like who adopted you, grandma, grandpa, how'd you grow up? So hence the title, Human Behavior in the Social Environment. So hbse. In grad school, you only take one course that covers like everything. But for some reason in undergrad, they split it up into 2 semesters. Maybe they think we're not as smart before graduate school. And it's like, you got to take longer, but it depends. I do not recommend taking this class, but it is one of my favorite classes. And there's some of the stuff you guys will create for your presentation, like ADHD presentation, bipolar presentation. But I want to get into the Ashford book, which have all of you guys mostly had me already because I do self-care presentation. I won't go through it again, but I want to push for you to do what you can to take care of yourself. And that's going to be all the way through your social work career for the rest of your life. Whatever you choose to do in your job and how you do it. So, anybody wanted to say what you ever do for self-care? If you're ever talking about self-care? Anything fun? Anybody get like, my friend makes fun of me, but I say I run. I try to exercise to relax. And he's like, how in the hell do you exercise to relax? I try. Is it supposed to lower your blood pressure? It's supposed to have you live longer. I don't know. But there was a time when I didn't do any of that. Like in all of my graduate school for 8 years in a row, I didn't exercise a wee bit at all. I started noticing stress, and I feel like my blood pressure was affected, things of that nature. And so at the end of graduate school, you have to write a 155-page paper, the dissertation. And it was so stressful, I just started running like a mile and 2 miles and 3 miles. So that's one of what I did to prevent burnout, stressors, self-care. It helps, avoid all these things. If you haven't seen this presentation before, I don't want to go all the way through it again for you guys, but I'll happily send it. But, doing what you can to empty the cup. And that would be if you think of yourself as a cup and you hear all the stories, as you all do field in the next 2 to 3 years, at your practicum, if you hear homeless stories, child and family protective services stories, you hear pain stories, joy stories. Eventually your cup becomes full. Some days you're overflowing and you can't hear one more story. Like you got to go home and take care of you. And self-care is what you do to empty the cup. So here is a list of things. And if you see anything that you do, you guys take that yoga class?
Yeah. I have
How's
to do it.
that?
I love yoga.
Is it good?
I had to do mine on Zoom today.
Oh, they let you do it on Zoom?
Yeah, because like
Okay.
she was my physical education teacher and she dropped that class. So that was my desk duties time for RA. So she's like, okay, on Thursdays, I'll open Zoom for you. I was looking so crazy. Everybody
Really?
was walking in. Mhm.
Okay. So she was like, that's hilarious. Okay. Anybody else do yoga or done it? I never did it till like after graduate when I started running marathons. So just being able to make sure your muscles like stretch. Or like walking. I know there's a lot of spots around campus to.
It's a walking class. I'm in that too.
Oh, that's right. So anybody take the walking class?
Mhm.
I hear it's the easiest class on campus. Is that true? What do you do? Like,
You just walk. You walk a mile. Then
you're
go
just
out.
like on your phone, texting, walking.
Yeah, you keep your watch on. Then
Not much different than any other class, right?
Mhm.
How about painting, drinking tea, garden? Anybody ever had a garden?
Nope.
We're trying to add it in here for like another class, horticulture therapy.
Mhm.
Stretch. Any soccer players? Do yoga, get a pedicure. Wait, is that your foot or your hand? You can tell I've never had one, but I do buy like a gift card for my wife to get it. She's like, I'm about to need another one. And do you know how much those damn things are? Like, why are they so expensive?
Because they massage you. They give you hot towels.
My friend told me to buy her one at like a Chinese parlor. He's like, it's way cheaper at the Chinese parlor. Is that true, or are they like
How
not?
much is the ones you pay for?
At Mitchell's in Cincinnati. Is it okay if I look it up?
Yeah.
Mitchell's in Cincinnati.
Why you buy a gift card? Just give her the money.
Here's why: if you buy it for $40, they give you $50. Does that make sense? But you're right. No, I mean, believe me, she spends good money, and she only stopped working like when we had our first baby and Mitchell's Salon Hyde Park. So it's because you can get the gift card for pedicure. How much do you guys normally? I guess is that like too personal?
They got like different prices.
It's like, it depends, like, I get rhinestones on my feet, so I do have to pay like 50.
Is it expensive? Okay.
It's like 50, 60. My
So some-
necklace chain together is 110. I do that every time.
So some people do pedicures for self-care.
I get my lashes done.
Oh, here, do they give you a quote on price, or is this why they don't put it up, isn't it? So that they can change the price. I feel like it was $100.
I was
For pedicure?
I feel like she said it was like water, massage,
I pay like, even if I go to them, I still pay like
50. Okay, well, see, that's how you got it. Well, she said you got to tip them. It was like 60, 70, 80. She says you have to tip them. I was like, are you sure? I'm like, can you give them like a 5 spot? She's like, no, for real, you got it. Okay. So they don't tell you the price, but I seriously think it was 100. Because I was like, didn't the gift card cover it? It was $50. She's like, nope. So I guess maybe I'll buy her the 100 for 80. Is that what you're saying I should do? Right. She did go to the Chinese place once. She just heard they have like fungal outbreaks. Really? Okay. All right. So, anybody else? Do they have church here on campus ever?
Yeah.
Okay. That's self-care, laughing or swimming. So they have laughing yoga. Laughing yoga.
They gotta be comedians, because how you just gonna lie?
I know. I think it's weird, but pray, meditate, take long walks. So anyway, we'll get into the. Should we do the theories or the making babies part first?
The making baby.
Oh boy. You think that they would do this in high school for you guys? Did you get any sex ed in high school?
Health class.
Ashford? Do they tell you guys like everything nowadays, or do they like temper it?
They don't even tell us nothing.
Because it depends on the school, right?
Yeah. Really do.
Did anybody get like, what's the age they start sex ed?
I think that was, yeah, I think it was 7th or 8th. Yeah.
7?
Yeah.
Well, that's probably when you're developing, right? That's probably okay. That makes sense. So I feel like chapter 1 is more theories, and which you will use and you'll get to know and become familiar with. There we go. Okay. So when you're doing behavior, human behavior in the social environment, a lot of the theoretical stuff, like we want to dip into, people have to adjust to many different types of events, traumas, situations, or changes. What's an example of a trauma in life?
Getting beat as a child.
That's definitely one. That's one of the ACEs, the adverse childhood experience. With the leather side of the belt or the metal side of the belt?
Both of them.
Okay. Or physically or emotion,
Both.
like being yelled at?
All.
So psychologically, physically, sexually, and emotionally. All of those. Okay. Death in the family, would that be a trauma?
Especially in a parent. Yeah.
Okay. Are you guys familiar with the ACEs? They're called adverse childhood experiences.
Nope.
Have you guys watched the documentary called Paper Tigers?
No.
Okay, you've seen it because you had me. Did I not have you guys in class? Or maybe you were just like, yeah, I'll watch it. And then you never did. I get it. I know how undergraduate can be. But so in social work, a lot of the stuff we deal with are because of a trauma. Because of a childhood trauma. We talked about genetics, so it could be passed on genetically. It could be genetic caused addiction and or alcoholism, which then maybe caused a trauma. There's an overdose in the family. There's a death in the family. There's an imprisonment in the family because a year away from your kids and then your place. So there's several things that go on. And luckily, social workers, I know some people say, all they do is take your kids. You ever heard that one before? All social workers do is take your kids. Yes and no. You know, it depends. So like if your mom overdosed and the life squad came and revived her, you know how they shoot Narcan in your nose and you come back to life? Have you guys ever?
Yeah.
There's another documentary. We can watch some of the documentaries. 7 Days of Heroin in Cincinnati. You ever heard of that one?
No.
It's only like 30 minutes, but it's like, holy crap. It won a Pulitzer Prize. I can only find it on Facebook. So lots of heroin. Did you find a good price on the nail salon?
Are you going live right now on the YouTube?
I should be, as long as it doesn't die.
Somebody asked me. So what did they search?
Oh, it is going to die. Oh,
Yeah.
man. But I could go live over here, too. Okay. If it does die, I'll just do it. So what did they search, did you say? It's Dr. Trouth at Central State. So just go YouTube, go live. Would it film me if I had it hooked up to here? Anybody know? That's true. Okay. They might ask me which camera is that I want to use. Interesting. I'm gonna try the other one. So what other trauma is like if you are growing up? Or if you're willing to share, you know, like did you have a friend die?
Yeah.
What age was it?
16. Or what about getting grazed? Does that count?
Getting grazed, did you say?
Mhm. Grazed like by a bullet.
Oh yeah. Anything that is like, so that would be assault is when you have fear of your life or fear of harm and getting hurt. Battery is when you're hit by the bullet. So there's assault and battery. So like if I go like that to somebody and they flip, that's assault. Like flick a lighter in their face, like that's 5th degree assault. When you make contact with the skin, bullet, car. I think they've even found workers who spit in a hamburger, give it to the person. That's assault and battery because you're spit hitting.
I have my mom say, like, when she get into it with somebody at the drive-thru, let me stop before they spit in my food.
Right. Which is gross.
Yeah.
So if this dies, if one of you guys see the green light turn off, tell me and I'll start a new stream here just so people know online. That's creepy.
So you got 2 viewers right now or something? Or no?
It looks like 2, yeah. So it's Dr. Trouth's Central State Channel, and it'll save it for later. What type of social work do you guys want to do? Medical? Where the money's at? Does your mom do that one?
Nah, she children's services.
Was that going to have some money if it's state sponsored?
Yeah, she stays sponsored. And she's a supervisor.
If you ever want to do a research topic and publish, we always have to show off our publications to like keep our job here. They always call it publish or perish, like in academia. So we have to write. I do some writings on trauma, how we address trauma at like Lighthouse Community School, counseling newly resettled refugees. So they had a trauma, the refugees that came from Burundi, because there was a civil war and they seen a family member die. They seen all their family die, and they came here for safety. So in human behavior in the social environment, we try to work on, how people adapt, how there's resilience, which is like positive adaptation during the following. Like if you ever seen the kids, they said you would never finish high school. I was one of them. They're like, you're never going to get out of high school. You're not going to do well for yourself. And I did turn it around. It took until college, and I did finish. But in the meantime, like kind of adapting to those developmental things, normative age, and history influence, so like predictable changes that are tied to a historical era. We were talking about trauma that's passed on generationally, if I can say it. Your all's cohort is this class. Like they'll call you that in the grad. Like if you join a graduate cohort. Did I tell you all this on Tuesday? So only half the people that start a graduate program, especially a doctoral program, finish. Only half. So they're like, look to your left and look to your right. At least one of you will finish, like 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 3. But this is your cohort. So like you all are like either sophomores and juniors, and every generation is 20 years. This is funny, you can tell when the book was written, is I don't think you guys are called millennials anymore. Right? Is there a new name for the generation? Somebody wants to be a case manager.
Oh, they said that.
I might have messed up my own generations. Like my dad's 77 now, so he had me probably at 33, and then I waited 42 years to have kids. So our generation is almost like 75 years for like 3 generations. But you could have generations tight really every 13 years. I feel like the youngest girl had a baby who's like 8 or 9 or 10, like where it's like mostly because of RGBH hormone. It's called bovine growth hormone. It's caused growth hormone in development in men and women. We develop faster, you ovulate sooner, you have like your period, and you can get pregnant. So risk factors we look at before and after conception, and they're like well-established threats to human development and behavioral outcomes, certain strengths that support buffer effects, exposure to risk. We all know that noise. Cumulative risk hypothesis. How do you turn that off? I've always wondered how to turn that off. Silent. I feel like silent won't even do it. Like when we're silent. Few single risk factors that are associated with negative development, like pile up over time. I can't believe it hasn't died yet. I almost wanted to turn it to off. So any questions so far? Any other traumas you guys would think of or you would address as a social work person? Yeah.
It was so hot, like her sugar, like drink everything. So that's how she like found out she was a type 1 diabetes. So all my life, that's all I know. So I remember like 8, I think that's my first real traumatizing experience. I couldn't get her to wake up and she was cold. And she don't understand that they don't care that she has clothes on and I don't cut them off anyway. So
Right.
I'm wasting
Right.
time trying to dress her. That's kind of like 18, put it in body warmer, then it'll go up too hard.
If it's over 500, you also, it's like they're drunk, right?
Yeah, it's bad, and then they'll come back.
We're ordering at restaurant, because I have a friend, they just sit there. I'm like, dude, oh no, you got to call the paramedics.
Yeah,
I'm like, did you take your insulin? He's already,
already gone.
right. Okay. So yeah, that's, if you guys haven't heard of the ACEs, I won't keep you too long, but there's a free ACEs. A car accident, of course. Absolutely. Yeah. So these are the typical ones, and they do change up. Well, here's the quiz. Oh, they do it this way. Okay. I like the one that lists it better, because you can take this confidentially. You don't have to. Most of us have an ACE score of 1, 2, 3, or 4. When you have above 4, yeah, most people have 1, really. So 2/3 have 1, but so this is research that we'll look at that is, how do you, if you have an ACE score that's a little bit higher than other folks, it could be abuse, neglect, or household dysfunction with substance use, incarcerated relative, mental illness, mother treated violently or father, divorce, emotion. So a divorce is a common one. So 60% of us have experienced that in some way, shape, or form. You can take it here. If you ever do, like, take your ACE test. And here's, I wish they would just list them all. They always have it be, all right, skip that again. I do have it in writing somewhere. But here's a quick shot of what defines the ACE and how we prevent ACEs. So there's been a big national campaign, although we've had research for 20 years. It's finally.
Hi, this is my neighborhood. I grew up in this building. This is a great community now, but it's had its share of problems. When I was a kid, our community had high unemployment, a lack of resources for families, and lots of kids hanging out with no adult supervision. You might have heard about adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. ACEs are traumatic events in childhood, like abuse and neglect, that can increase risk for future problems. But they don't have to. The good news is that ACEs and their consequences can be prevented. Take me for it.
So I guess this is the point, though. The most important thing is ACEs can do a lot of damage. They also can be overcome with resilience if you go have therapy, if you go and work on them and do the proper self-care.
For example, I was at risk for ACEs, and despite all the things that put me at risk, some pretty incredible people helped make sure that I wouldn't become another statistic. Come on, I'll show you around. That's Jackson. He's a cool kid. His dad left when he was 2, and his mom works 2 jobs. I hang out with him every Thursday night and help him with his homework. Sometimes we grab ice cream. It's fun. Plus, he has another adult role model to learn from and trust. He did that for a bunch of us. My dad actually found his job as a mechanic because of Mr. Martino. This helped our family in so many ways. Not only did Mott nicer to me, my brother, and my mom once he started working a job that made him feel good about himself. When communities come together, they can do so much to prevent ACEs. Mr. Martino and other local business owners put together a series of career workshops to help people like my dad find work. My mom also got a job with a company that allowed her to work from home and spend more time with me and my brother. Mariana has just gotten out of a class about handling challenges of single parenting. The clinic offers free childcare so Mariana's daughter, Ella, can play while Mariana's in class. The class helps parents like Mariana develop positive parenting skills, not just for babies and toddlers, but for teenagers too. This is another way our community has come together to give families the resources they need. And just one more way to prevent ACEs. This was my school, Riverside Middle, right in the heart of town. These kids are here for a sponsored summer camp. This community-supported program helps families with affordable, quality childcare and helps kids get tutoring and learn life skills. When I was a kid, I spent a lot of time at this school all year long. There was one counselor, Miss Greer, who I remember more than anyone. She was a really good listener. Miss Greer helped me and my brother get involved in after-school activities like baseball and soccer. Our coaches were super nice and were mentors to us. Staying after school for practice kept us and a lot of other kids out of trouble. When schools help take responsibility for preventing ACEs, everybody wins. My life could have gone in a completely different direction. Studies show that ACEs can have long-term negative effects on kids' health and well-being that may last into adulthood and even continue in future generations. But by people and groups taking action, ACEs can be prevented. In fact, there are 5 known strategies that help stop ACEs before they even start. You can implement them in your own community, just like we did. How? By strengthening economic support for families, by changing social norms to support parents in positive parenting, by providing quality care and education early in life, by enhancing parenting skills to promote healthy child development, and by intervening to lessen harms and prevent future risk. So, now you know my story, and you've seen the prevention strategies in my community that helped me beat the odds. I had healthy relationships with my family and friends. I learned how to take care of myself and make good choices. And today, I'm a mentor to other kids who need some extra help so they don't become an ACEs statistic. Safe, stable, and nurturing relationships and environments are essential to prevent child abuse and neglect and to assure that all kids reach their full potential. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Banana split? You got it.
So these are a lot of the things we learn how to do in social work and find ways to help with prevention. Any of you guys ever heard of Dr. Help with Prevention? Any of you guys ever heard of Dr. Nadine Burke? This lady? I won't show it as it'll cut me off on YouTube. But I won't show it as it'll cut me off on YouTube. But she is amazing with the medical social work that she does. So you mentioned medical social work and being in the medical field. And if you want to do medical social work, she is a good one to kind of like hook up with and watch and study. Like I said, I won't show it because they'll cut me off on YouTube, like streaming wise. They know that this is a TED Talk, but she has a pretty powerful message. If you get the chance, watch that. And sorry, I don't know if I'm going to get you to the making babies part. We're close. So protective factors, things that we do, Carl. So she gave that almost 10 years ago, and it's, yeah. She, look her up. Like I said, I would show up, but they cut the stream off right when I took the TED Talk, because I think they memorized the movies behind the TED Talks. So, This is all the theories. I see why in the syllabus we kind of start with like the middle chapters first, like the later chapters, and then get into theory, because sometimes theory can make you want to fall asleep, and I get it. I totally get it. When you understand them, it's easier and you see where it's connected. The biggest one I was taught, I was in what was known as a ecological counseling program. So the ecological theory is the most famous social work theory, like starting in 1978. And what it looks at is a holistic view of like you guys, what you came up with. What was your upbringing? How was your high school? What was the graduation rate of your high school? Was there any danger? Any? I'm trying to think of the one. Where did you all go to high school? I feel like you've told me before.
In Toledo.
Toledo. Cleveland. Are you Cincinnati? Yeah.
Oh, no, Dane.
Dayton. Are you all? Did you know your graduation rates at high school?
No.
Ours in Cincinnati was pretty bad. Anybody from Cincinnati? We had a bad one. Was Indiana any good?
I think somebody said a lot of people couldn't graduate because they failed the online.
Oh, you had COVID. I keep forgetting about like you guys all went to high school during COVID.
Yeah.
I did.
That was
I
my
did.
senior year.
I was fastest 2020.
Right, the worst.
Okay.
class. Worst. Yeah.
Okay. So that's another thing we take into account. Like, what was the neighborhood? Did you have a food desert? I grew up in a food desert. I also consider that a trauma. Anybody know how to define a food desert? I always thought it was like food desserts, but it's not. That's good. That's a good thing, I think. A food desert is different than food dessert, even though I spell it wrong all the time I say it. So we will get into pregnancy, birth, and the newborn. But I'll finish with a food desert. And like what we do, so as a social worker, you are assessing expectant parents, whether they are 15, 19, 23. What's the youngest person you all know in here that gave birth or had a child? Yeah.
14.
Because we had girls in our high school that would, sometimes at the Catholic school, I forget, when I was 13, was that the youngest? Which high school? Yeah, was it the one in Cleveland? What was the name of the high school?
Middle school. Yeah,
What?
middle school. She was in 8th grade. I was going to high school.
Oh, dang. So she was in, okay. Junior high school, okay. So, is that normal now? Most ovulation begins at the age of 10 or 11, or is it later? I've heard it's pushed up to like 5th grade.
Yeah.
So that's 10. So you could get pregnant, yeah, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. It is. We also have a very bad area of child trafficking, sex trafficking in the state of Ohio. So, gosh, I probably showed you guys. Still haven't died? I'm waiting for it to die. I don't want it to because I have a lot of work to do. So real quick, this one usually doesn't shut off the stream, but it's called Sound of Freedom. It did? Oh yeah, if anybody has a sheet to sign in on, go ahead. So I'll show you this as we get into talking about the youngest. I know some of you have already seen this. Any of y'all seen the Sound of Freedom yet?
No.
It's only 2 minutes. What's that? It's 2 minutes. Can you give me 2 minutes? Okay. So watch this. I know I've shown it to some of you. It's a true documentary about 2:21.
I don't think I can do this job. As soon as I lay down. Only some of those places. How long have you been doing this? How do you do it?